Okay, welcome back to Rig Racing, everybody. On today's episode, we're talking about the final details of Main Street 1, the model that I've been building here for the past few episodes, and now we're getting ready to do some lighting. So I got this for Christmas, but I was going to use it for my track, but I'm just going to buy another roll. So this is what they call cob lighting. And it's very small. You can see how small the roll is. This is what I like about this. They don't have a name on here, so sorry, I got it off of Amazon. Anyway, it runs off a 5-volt source. So I'm going to put lights in here and light it up with a 5-volt source. I'm going to put one over here, one over there, and light up the inside of the whole box. So that'll do all the windows. And then I'm going to do one on top of each one of these storefront lights. If you can see it up in here. Let me see where you're at. I already put a light right up in there. It has adhesive backs, right? So I drilled a hole. I was originally going to just put a light in there, but it isn't bright enough. So I decided to put the cob light in there. And this is the length that it needs. Just one section. Three or four lights that's in there is all you need. So I need to pre-solder. Let me see if you guys can see what's going on here. I have cob lights, but it's got copper tabs, and you can cut them in half. Right? So we need to pre-solder the ends of these here and here. There and there, ground and 5-volt. So we'll be able to solder. I'm going to cut some wire like this, solder it up. So I have my soldering iron here going on. It's already warmed up. Clean the tip a little bit. First things first. Let's talk about flux. A lot of people doesn't use it. A lot of people say that just using rosin core flux or rosin core solder will do. This stuff it's just the best thing that ever happened. I mean, my dad taught me about this a long time ago when I was doing electronics in the basement. This is just what they call regular paste flux. It's for electronics. So I take a little bit out on on the knife. Not much that you need, right? There isn't a whole lot to it. And then you just put a little bit on that side and a little bit on this side. And that's it. You just need a little dab, right? And clean off your knife, set it to the side. Now let's talk to your wire. I need a length that goes in there to about here, so it's complete guesswork. So it looks pretty good to me. Cut it off, set it to the side. A pair of wire strippers. I only need a little bit. Trimmed off the ends. Split the wires apart. Twist. Twist. Okay, now we're going to do what they call tinning the wire. We're going to solder the ends of this wire first. So you take your flux, you just dip it in there after you twist the wire. Now you got flux all over your wire, which is exactly what you want. So you move your solder out here, you grab your iron. Clean your tip if you want. I grab a little bit of solder on the end of your iron and just touch each one of those, and you can see that it's shiny. Shiny is good. So your wires are tinned. Now I'm going to come over here and do the same thing. I still have solder on the end of this. I am just going to put a dab right onto the end of this copper. See, puts a little ball there. I'm going to add a little more solder to my iron. I do it on the other side. You just press and hold and you wait for a little bit. The pad heats up and the iron or the solder flows because of the flux, and it leaves a little ball, and that's it. This got hot, so you guys might want to put something on or hold it with a pair of pliers, something like that. You don't want to heat it up or you'll melt everything here. So now you got a blob of solder, clean it off. Now your iron's ready for the next use. I just put it in my holder, set things aside. Now, I am wiring these up with brown being ground or earth, and red being positive, right? And that's pretty much the way we do it in America. So I'm going to do the ground first. Heat this up just a little bit. See how all that really just kind of flowed together? And then you can just kind of hold it here. And that's all it took. So this is now soldered up, ready for use, and we can test that. I have my bench plug going on here. Bench power supply. Set at 4.86 volts so it doesn't burn anything up. There, my light works just fine with positive and negative in the right locations. So I'm going to fold this over like this. Grab my knife, peel the stick. This is a sticky back. This is what I like about this cob white. It's already got a sticker on the back to hold all this stuff in place. All right, there we go. Okay. This is signed. And now we're going to feed this in from the bottom. So I kind of got this here. My other pair of tweezers, and I'm just kind of putting it down. I'm going to do it this way. I'm wrapping it this way. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now you can see I have 2 lights in there ready to go. And this one I need to strip a little bit first. I should have done that first, but so be it. You guys get the idea. So this negatives go together. Almost. I couldn't get them to twist. Hang on, I got fat fingers. There we go. Okay. And then positives go together. Okay, and just like the other, what we're going to do is basically tin the ends of these so nothing comes apart. And dip them in your flux. A little bit of solder on your iron. And then just hit them. See how that turned. Same with this one. Alright. Clean off my iron a little bit so you don't leave solder on it. It'll just ruin the tip. So I got these 2 done. But let's just see, because I'm like that. I like to cheat. There we go. Front of the building's lit up. That looks nice. Okay. So now I'm going to put a strip here and then a strip there so it lights up both sides. I might put a strip right here so it lights up these windows. I don't know what I'm going to do for the back because there's really nothing to shine on the back. Maybe if I just do strips here. Well, anyway, let's get to it. We're just going to call it right there. Okay, and that's how you do it. It's going to sit like this, right across the 4 windows. And we're going to do another one on the other side, same length. Let's just do the 2 strips and see where things come out at. So I gotta put solder on all the ends of those. And take a little flux. Too much. Doesn't have to be globbed on there. You only need to just put enough on it to get it to flow. Excuse me, I've had a cold. Okay, so flip it over to where the solder's hanging. Okay, those are all done. Now we need some wires. And I'm going to switch these just to orange and white because I'm running out. I need to start using some wire. So, same way, I'm going to use let's just keep using the brown. Close enough. This side I did a short strip so they can go onto the end of the lights. Oh, sorry, you gotta twist the ends of these just so nothing frays. Bend everything nice and straight. Plunge it. And tin it. Same for the other one. Now I am not tinning the long side here. Notice I did these a little longer than this side. Can you see the difference? I made these a little bit longer so they can hook up to those. But I'm just going to twist them up so they don't fray. And that's that. And then I'm going to solder these small short ends onto here. Oh, this is upside down. Brown is ground. That one's done. And that one's done. Clean the tip off. And this is just like sponge steel wool. You can get it at your grocery store, right? It's like steel sponge is what it is. I just stuck it in a 3D printed box that I had laying around that failed, so it's a good little holder. All right, so now this is going to sit right above the windows along that line. So I'm going to peel this and get to sticking. And then like that, and then I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. Okay, so now they're lit up on both sides. I think that might be enough. So I'm going to strip these out a little bit further. Oh, this one I never even did strip. Okay, so now, just like everything, the browns go to the browns. And the reds go to the reds. And then the reds go to the reds. And the browns go to the browns. Okay, so now all the lights are all wired up together. And what I'm going to do is take a little bit of flux. I'm going to solder all this stuff together right now while they're all touching. Put a little bit of flux all over it. Sorry about the hair, I have cats. Alright, that looks good. Just like that. And then put a little bit of solder on your iron. And put these two together. Oh, that looks good. See how it just sucks the solder right into it? That's what the flux does for you. And then you don't have to worry about it. You know you got a solid connection there. All right, so here we are with everything lit. Let me connect this. Where's my, okay, here's my roof. And there it is. Pretty cool, huh? I think everything's gonna light up bright enough. Here, let me kill this light. There you go. Front store looks great. The windows, I mean, the front looks like different lights than the top of the windows. And I really like that. That's cool. Even the back windows lit up enough. Look at that. So there you go. That's how we're going to do lighting. Basically, what I'm going to do from here, though, unclip these and get them out of the way so they don't touch. This light back on. Let me scroll this back off. So what I'm going to do from here is solder a lead from here all the way out. I was considering putting a buck converter in here so you could dial in how bright you want these lights, but I think at 5 volts they looked fantastic. So I think that's where I'm going to run it at. So you can run this line out, I believe, to any 5 volt source DC that you might have already on your track, and that's what I'm going to do. I already have it wired up for that. So I'm going to run a lead from here and then heat shrink those two off, so I'll have a tail coming out the back. And then that's going to be put on my track. So I'm going to put this back on here, just like so, and it's going to look good. Put the wires back down, so I want to light it up again. It was just too cool. Look at that. It's like perfect. Try and get it closer. I don't know where you can really see because I'm on limited length. Here, does that help being out here a little bit out of the light? Here, let's do this. I'm going to turn off my whole bench light real quick. There you go. How's that? Yeah, that kind of shows it lit up. I'm kind of holding the wires separate here so you can see how I'm doing it. I just have 2 wires on the 2 leads and it's lighting off 3 of the, well, it's actually 4 little LEDs, just 2 mini LEDs. Oh, that one's actually broke. I might have to redo this one over here. But it looks okay. It still lights it up all right. And then these 2 are shining around in there, and that's it. It lights up the whole model. Isn't that fantastic? Now I could turn down the voltage, and you notice that it dims. That's about 3.3 volt, and that looks quaint. So maybe I'll run it at 3.3 volts. So maybe I will put a buck converter in there. That means I could run it at 24 volt and turn that dial down. It'll take it to 3.3 and it'll look super nice. So that's how I'm going to be lighting this thing, and I will show it to you on the track when I get it all done. But this is pretty much the last video of the series of how I soldered and wired all this up. The only thing that I have left to do on this model would be there's like a gutter that goes here and then a downspout that goes here. And then there's a nameplate that's going to go right here. I'm going to put Underground Speed Shop on that when I get that part done. So other than that, this is a pretty much complete model. I'm glad y'all come to hang out with me and watch me build it. And hopefully y'all come back for the next little series that I do. Welcome back everybody to Rigged Racing. On this episode we are going to talk lighting. On the last little mini episode you guys saw me put the cob lighting in. So that's in the walls already to light up the inside of the building. And what I'm going to do today is put a buck converter in place. So we're going to solder those wires onto this and then put leads out the back so I can dial in how bright I want these windows. Normally you could take this and put it on the other end of it. I guess you really wanted to keep it up under the table, but I'm just going to put this right inside the model. So you can get these off Amazon. This is a DC to DC buck converter. I believe this one is 12 volt to pretty much any volts that you want. And I can show you a quick test of how that's going to work when we get to that point. But we're going to have to measure out that voltage anyway. So the first thing I'm going to do is put my input leads. There's a positive here and a negative there. And I'm going to solder on some leads. And I got some silicone wire here that I'm going to use for that. I'm just going to make it, I don't know, let's just make it 10 inches. That sounds good. It's right there on my mat. Cutters. Okay, I'm going to tin my wires here. Put a little flux on my wires. Make sure that they are still wound up and touched. And then I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and a little bit of this flux and I'm going to put it on each inlet pad. You don't need much of this. You just need to coat it. Just a thin little coat. You can see there's not much on there at all. I already have a hot soldering iron here, so I'm going to put a little bit of solder on the end of this. That's all you need. Oh, that's the out. We're going to do the in. See how that just flowed and created a nice pad right on there. Put a little more on your end of your iron. You're going to do the other side. There you go. A little more on your iron. Then we're going to tin the end of the wires. Flip it over. I just like to make sure both sides got it good. Okay. Now, these are obviously too long for me to use, so I just wanted to tin them. Now I'm going to trim them. Get my cutters. You only need a little 1/8 of an inch. Something like that, right? So now, positive on one side, negative on the other. And that's all we need to do is heat the ends and put them together. Watch this. Let's start with negative. Just lay it right on there, add a little heat to it, and they melt together. Give it a quick blow, it's done. And then do the same thing on the positive side. There you go, that is done. So, power will be coming from, well, I have a power supply on my bench here. I'm going to hook it onto this and that'll supply power to this. But first off, we have to tin the ends over here. And I'm making these ends a little bit bigger than what I normally would just so I can clip on. I'll probably cut all this stuff off later when I hardwire it into the track. And the same thing, dip it in there to flux it, bust your iron out, put some solder on there, and tin it. Just run it right through it. All right, that's it. Now I know that won't fray. Just so you know, I have steel wool and a plastic failed 3D print that I have here, so I just clean off the end of my iron every time that I'm done using it. Okay, so I'm going to move my iron aside. It's still warm though. I haven't shut it off. I'm going to reach up here and turn on my power supply. And it's on, and I am going to crank this thing up to, let's just say 11.5. We're going to go for 12 volts. There it is, 12 volts. Okay. Now that we have the wires tinned And I turned on my power supply. And let me show you how this is working. I clip on negative there, positive there, and that shows 12.07. Let me turn the fine tune down. 11.3, it's very touchy, very finicky. And I got 12 volt, 12.01, and 12, it's jumping back and forth. So to me, that's 12 volt. So I'm going to disconnect this. I'm just going to set this aside for a second. It's going to be right there. And now I'm going to put red on red and black on black. And notice the light comes on, tells you that the buck converter has power. Now I'm going to fold this back on itself. Watch this little trick just for testing. And I clip it to the wire so these two don't touch. Okay, now we can work with this. So what I'm going to do now is this side's positive, this side's negative, and you can see that the buck converter is putting out 11.42 volts. So let me grab a little, that looks like one. I got a little screwdriver here, and you're going to turn this little knob on this rheostat here. And you might have to turn quite a bit. Looks like we're going down. Let me turn it in. Actually, we want it to go down. We want it to go from 12 volt to 5 volt. So here we go. You just keep turning, 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 right? There you go, 5 volt. Now that's an even 5 volts being put out there. I'm moving around, so, and then here, let me, there, solid 5 volt. Now if you don't want this, this is where I'm going to start this. This is going to be soldered onto the end of these leads. And then I'm going to just paste this to the side of the wall with some double stick tape that I have here. And then we're going to start messing with this wire. So now that I know that the buck converter is working and this isn't damaged, I got this from Amazon, I can start putting all this together. All right, so I'll turn this off for a second, set that aside. I'm going to disconnect this. Okay, so now this is disconnected. It's sitting at 5 volts. First thing I want to do is tin these pads, right? So grab this, my flux. Same thing as before. Just a little bit, just skim coat it is all you need. You don't need a big drop of it on there. Okay. And grab your iron again, put some solder on there and touch the pad. And there it is. That didn't get a whole lot on there, so I'm going to put some more on it. There you go, that's a good bead. Put some more on here. Do the other side. All right, that looks good. Okay, so red is positive, obviously. So we're going to stretch this apart a little more to make it easier for me. This side's positive. This is where a third hand would come in handy, but hey, you know, all you really got to do is touch them together, get them heated up. All right, see how easy that was? Now we're going to do the other side for the negative. And here I'm just going to let the two touch. Hit it from over here. Okay, and then set that aside, set that aside, set that aside. This comes out the bottom now. Whoop. Out the bottom. You know what the bottom is? There we go. So I'm thinking about putting it like right here, in between the windows, something like this, if you can see. That way it's not in anybody's way. And it'll still come right out underneath, or right down a hole in the table if I put it there. So what I'm going to use here is, this is extreme double-sided tape. Just mount it on the back here. And grab an X-Acto knife. It makes it so much easier to try and peel this stuff. Okay, now I can choose where I'm going to put it. Put it right in the middle. Okay, so you can see where it's at, right? That looks pretty good. Move the wires out of the way. I can always add more if I want, just tie in or add some more lights. So what I'm going to do now is hook it back up, clip here, and clip there, and there's my lights. Alright, that looks really good, I think. And then clip this in. Let me throw these away. Alright, so there's my lit up building. Now let's talk about the brightness. You want it to go dimmer. Up. Let me get my screwdriver here. I'm going to turn that little lever and watch the lights. I'm having a hard time turning it the other way. There we go. So you can set this to however dim or bright you want these lights to be. Right, that's the beauty of these cob lights and using this buck converter. So now, as long as you really don't go over 5 volt, which you can count the turns in this screw to get you back to 5 volt, or you can just put a voltmeter back on it. Really, you're just going to find out how bright you like your lights for your layout, and then make it so. That looks really good, I think. So that's all there really is to lighten up your building. This is going to go underneath the track, get hooked up to the rest of the 12 volt source, and that's all there really is to lighting.